Line number 25. This is a milestone episode, guys. 25, a quarter of the way to a century of chasing labels. And actually, nobody probably really knows this unless you're following us on Apple Podcasts, but this is actually our 100th episode in general. Me and Andrew have done 100 episodes of podcasting together. How do you feel, Andrew?
I feel good. I feel right. I'll say this. I didn't realize it was the 100th episode of podcasting. It feels like we've done a lot more, to be honest with you.
It feels like the thing is, when we were doing Cinema Discovery Project, we obviously weren't doing it as often as we do this show.
Right.
I think we were doing every other week. I think we might have started out trying to do weekly, and then we started out trying to do every other week. Then we tried to do weekly. Then we went back to every other week.
Right.
And then so we ended up doing about 75, I guess, episodes of that show. And then now we've done 25 of this show, and now we're at 100. So, I mean, we did have one 2-parter of this show. So technically, we've done 25, but we've done a 26th episode of release. So, but
it all comes down to we've done a lot of episodes, and it
feels good.
It feels good. It feels accomplished.
I feel like we're when you're doing something like this, it takes work, and it takes not thinking too much about it, and like talking yourself out of how if you're not getting like the audience that you're hoping for, right away, because we're doing pretty I think pretty good, but like you always want more people to listen, and if it's not like there right away, a lot of people just give up.
Well, yeah, that's very true. I mean, consistency seems to be the name of the game.
It's the key.
It's anything. Yeah,
consistency, and I think personality. Being informed too. I think people want people that know some stuff to be talking.
Right, of course. But, neither of us are experts on anything. We're just really passionate about movies, and collecting movies and talking about movies seems to be a big part of our lives. I know it's the essential part of my life. I can't go any moment without something related to movies being involved in my life.
Mine's unhealthy.
Right.
We were just talking off air about my addiction about this week, about how I have to stop. I was almost going to buy something else, and then I was like, nah, my wife's going to kill me. I got like 5 things coming in this week.
Well, yeah, I don't have any, kind of exterior forces stopping me. I almost have to stop myself. I was just telling Steven, I did make my first foray into the Criterion sale that started in late October this year for Barnes & Noble, and I completely didn't see it coming, because it usually doesn't start at the end of October. It's usually first week of November, and I think it's going from late October to late November. I think the 29th may be the last day. Either way, so I'm there. When you first get in there, you kind of just throw yourself into the deep and you just start grabbing stuff. It's
unless you're one of these
game
list people that have like a list of like things that they really want to get, which is I've done that.
People go point shopping. People go for specific things. I've done that. But usually I go in there. First foray, first go. If I see something, I'll grab it, because you never know when someone's gonna sneak in and grab the last copy of something.
Well, the thing about a list too is when you're making a list, you're also assuming that the Barnes & Noble is gonna have the things on your list.
Right.
So
sometimes
it's better
they do,
to go in there
don't.
freestyle sometimes, so you don't have expectations, so that you're not blindsided by the fact that, that Citizen Kane I really want is not going to be there.
Well, it's not out quite
It's not yet, but
right.
you know what I mean. So, like, that's going to be a hot seller.
Yeah, I assume the pre-orders for that are already through the roof.
Yeah.
So my strategy, sometimes I go there, grab anything I see that I like, and I'm like, oh yeah, I gotta get this, gotta get that. Then I got a nice stack afterwards. I come out of the deep end, get my bearings. Then I start, making executive decisions like, do I need this? Do I want that? What's highest priority? What's what can I save for next time? And I go to Criterion.com, check my wish list to see if did I miss anything? And of course, my store usually has some stuff that I want that they don't have. That just seems to be the tail of the tape. Although, I was pleasantly surprised by the amount of stuff they had. The quantity was much higher than it's been in years past, and I was kind of blown away by that. And I was like, oh, they finally stepped up their game. They must have knew I was coming.
No, that's
something.
good. That's good. Well, The good thing about Criterion though is you don't typically have to worry about things going out of print. So,
Typically, you're right.
yeah, I mean,
Although
there's not
they do sneak up on you sometimes.
well, they sneak up in general, but like it's not like going into like an arrow sale or an indicator sale where like we know that there's a limited run on these particular editions.
Right. There doesn't seem to be a limit number, at least not a number they've ever shared with us, but they do lose the licensing eventually.
Yeah.
In some cases.
I think it really just depends on what kind of collector you are, because some people really put a lot of value into the limited edition style, which I do like that. I really do like collecting things that have a number on them in the sense of their quantity, but there is something to be said about making sure that, that the movie comes first and that you're getting people to buy your stuff based off of that more than,
of course,
the packaging and all that. In the limited run of this version, it should be about the movie, and Criterion does that. That's what they do. They make it seem available in general until it's not.
Until it's not,
which is usually a while.
Look for it.
It's usually a while. So,
but this episode today is not about Criterion. Or the Criterion sale specifically, or even about their upcoming announcements, which we should be getting quite soon. So
we should get it maybe at the end of this week, maybe beginning of next week. But as you're bringing up next episode, we do have a guest coming in next episode. A good segue, Stephen. I'm talking to myself.
Okay.
Orbit DVD. Mark is coming in, who's the owner of Orbit DVD, and he will be joining us for the episode, and I should have our video, my conquest to Orbit DVD in person, ready for viewing. I will say, I think it'll turn out pretty good. The only thing is there was some audio issues, not necessarily like something I did, but it was, just put it this way, there's a lot of noise in that store. Like some fans going, some ventilation going. So there is going to be some noise in the background of some of this that I tried to clean up, but it's not easy. So, but it should still be a cool video to look at, and that should be out next week sometime. So
I'm excited. I'm excited to see it because I've never really seen inside of the store myself.
Yeah.
And I've always just wanted to see what the setup looks like. That's always kind of fun to look at. I can tell you straight up that I know exactly what you're talking about, because when I go to my Barnes & Noble for Criterion sale, back to that, can never escape it. I do take some footage, at least that first day, just to get the lay of the land, just to show people, this is the way my store looks. Maybe other people's stores look different, and I've been doing that for several years that I've had my channel up.
Yeah.
So I did take that video footage the other night. I'll probably be editing that, and then of course Stephen will send over that video whenever he's done with it, and those will be kind of good stuff to start off our Chasing Labels YouTube channel, which will be available ASAP.
Probably sometime next week we will be switching Cabzilla 06, the famous Cabzilla 06 name.
Well, it's Cabzilla Productions, but I'm glad you remembered it after all this time. I only have never mentioned it once.
And switching his channel over to the Chasing Labels channel. And please, like I've said before, go over there, go ahead and subscribe, be ready. And with that said, with all that little mumbo jumbo at the beginning we didn't even plan that. We just started talking randomly.
It's all improv. We're that talented, Steven.
Yeah, we're that good. Let's get into some releases. We got a few things. Some stuff we're going to hold off till next week. I know Severin has announced a bunch of stuff this weekend. So we're actually gonna push that off to next weekend to give ourselves a little bit more time to look into some of that, so we can have a little bit more to say. But what we're gonna do is we're gonna go through a few different labels releases. Let's start with Kino.
Okay, I wasn't expecting that, but that
I know I just threw you off, right?
Yeah, it threw me way off. So Kino's always a mix of stuff they've announced and they're re-announcing and giving us more information on stuff. So we're trying to go through it, kind of like fine-tooth combing it. So this stuff may or may not be stuff you've heard of before, so bear with us on that. But the first release we have here is a film called Shake Hands with the Devil, starring James Cagney. And then next up on the list is let's see. We've talked about that. I think I'll just bring this up. Double Door is a
Yeah.
film I think we've talked about before. But I actually really enjoyed it, so I would like to bring it up once again.
Yeah, basically, when we talked about it last time, they had a coming soon on it,
Yes.
and now it has. What's the official date on it now?
Now the official date for that is January 4th. I think these are all their January titles.
Okay.
Some of these they've announced months and months and months ago.
Oh yeah.
Specifically, even Shake Hands with the Devil, they announced in February that that was quote unquote coming soon.
Yeah.
And it's now November. So we're talking some serious 9-month waiting period here for this to get a release. But it looks like they're giving that a. Is it a. Well, I think it's a 4K transfer. No, 2K Master. 2K Master. With a new interview with actor Don Murray. That's fascinating. I didn't know he was still alive. But next is, like I said, is Double Door, which I really dug. This is getting 2 audio commentaries. This is a film from 1934, based on a play, actually. A really interesting film. And then we move on from there to another film we've talked about before. All My Sons is getting an official release for January 4th. Brand new 2K Master. We're getting a commentary by Kat Ellinger and author film historian Lee Gambin, 2 names we've heard of many times over the last several months. And this film actually stars Edward G. Robinson and Burt Lancaster. So for those of you who are Burt Lancaster fans out there, or Burt Lancaster completists, you kind of need to get this movie. It's really good. Next is The Naked Ape, which is a film I did not see. This is I think a Code Red and Kino Lorber team up.
Yeah.
So that's something that's coming out soon. Very interesting cover art for this.
It's the only. I was looking through this. Donald Driver, the director writer. It's the only thing he's ever done.
Wow.
If this is a hit, this is his one hit wonder.
Yes, it is. 1973, getting a brand new 2K Master, and that's it in terms of any specifics for that. A movie called The Gambit we've talked about before, Stephen. I know we went over this.
Yeah, Michael Caine
and Shirley MacLaine. I might as well bring it up again, because who doesn't like Michael Caine and Shirley MacLaine? Did you see that rumor that Michael Caine had retired, but then he came out the next day and was like, "Yeah, I'm not retired."
Yeah.
Everyone was like, "Oh, what a great career, legendary Michael Caine. See you after the sunset."
No.
He's like,
I'm
no,
not.
I'm still
I
acting.
can't do a good British. I can't do a good Michael Caine other than saying Michael Caine.
Yeah, Michael Caine. Yeah, it's like he's not done yet. He's up. He's what, in his 80s, late 80s now.
Look, Clint
Legendary.
Eastwood's like 90 something, and he's he's directing and.
I'll say this: Michael Caine is acting circles around where Clint Eastwood is right now.
Yeah.
I saw Cry Macho. I cried. not the best way.
Not for the right reasons.
Not for the right reasons.
But I was going to say, we're waiting. I mean, as Christopher Nolan's next movie is being announced with actors, we're assuming he's going to fall in there somewhere.
There's a good chance. Yeah.
Let me say real quick, off tangent. That looks like that's going to be a great movie. With I'm glad to see Robert Downey Jr. doing something other than a Marvel movie. You know,
about time. Yeah.
Yeah, no, I mean he did The Judge, but and he does Sherlock Holmes.
That was what, 7 years ago he did The Judge.
in the Sherlock Holmes movies. But this is like this is going to be like a real acting movie.
And then of course he did Dr. Dolittle. You can't forget that. I mean,
can I not?
It is nice. I'm not knocking the Marvel movies at all, because
no.
I've seen all of them and I own like 95% of them. So I'm like,
they're fine for what they are. I was a big fan, that being a big part of my 20s. Going through that. I've been, if you follow me online, I've been going through my movie posters. I have like almost all of the movie posters from the Marvel movies. So,
Right.
and I don't want to get rid of them because it's a part of my upbringing as a movie fan.
those are collector's items now.
Oh, dude. Yeah, I know. But let's move on.
Yeah, moving on from Marvel to an Alain Delon film. And this is a film called Armageddon.
Oh,
Not
wait, the
the
Michael
Armageddon.
Bay? Michael Bay
No,
movie?
No, coincidentally, I think Alain Delon's birthday was yesterday. Of course, he's the famous, well-known French actor. He was in Le Samurai, which is a film that I think is incredible. And he's also in the film La Piscine, which just got a Criterion release a few months ago, I want to say.
Yeah.
And his birthday was November 8th, which is today. Okay, it's today. So
You
for
got
those
it.
of you getting a peek behind the curtain, we're recording this on November 8th. So it's coming. So that's coming from him. What's interesting, Kino's releasing a lot of French films over the last little
Yeah.
while.
Yeah.
A lot of stuff starring the late great Jean-Paul Belmondo, and now Alain Delon as well.
Well,
no,
we know they're taking stuff from everywhere, and that leads us into the next
we're
thing.
gonna get to that. Because so this has no date on it. No
This will be
specifics, no nothing.
reposted in a couple months.
Oh, this is going to be reposted in like a month. Yeah, easy. This film is from 1977 and just says coming soon on Blu-ray and DVD. And speaking of taking from everywhere, once again, Steven, it would not be a Kino Lorber announcement slate without them grabbing something from somewhere.
And doing
they
it in
take no
4K.
prisoners. They don't care. They're going after Criterion. They're going after whomever. And now they're going after Arrow Video with a 4K UHD release of Billy Wilder's classic film, The Apartment, starring Jack Lemmon, Shirley MacLaine, and Fred McMurray. Damn, Steven. Damn.
Okay.
Can't believe they're doing it again.
This is where I'm at with this. Okay, first of all, love The Apartment. All-time
Yes.
favorite. It's an all-time
Great
favorite.
film.
Probably top 20 for me. Top 20 films of all time for me. When I got that Arrow edition, I've talked about this before on another podcast. It's an amazing transfer. It's an
Yes.
amazing, I think, 4K restoration of that edition. Do you have it right beside you,
I
Andrew?
coincidentally have it right beside
No,
me.
you don't coincidentally. You had it. You got it for this show. I know you did.
It's been sitting like at this desk here. I've just got movies everywhere. And yeah, it's brand new 4K restoration. Coincidentally, I did do a review for this on the Cabzilla Productions
There you go.
soon to be Chasing Labels YouTube channel when I got this many years ago. And this was like, I don't even know if we had started chasing, not Chasing Labels, but Cinema Discovery Project at the time.
I think we were. It might have been near the beginnings.
They're in the beginning because I remember the hubbub around this release. This thing was tough to get when it first came out, and we ended up snagging it somehow. But yes, Steven, it's a gorgeous, amazing.
It's a gorgeous. It looks like
deluxe
it was
release.
made yesterday, and so this is where I'm at. On the one hand, I don't feel the need to buy this because my edition, the edition we have already, looks amazing. On the other hand, can it look a little bit more amazing on 4K? I don't know. Can it?
It could. I mean, the resolution's gonna be better. I
mean,
can tell
I
you
just
that.
don't. It's one of them things where it's like, does it? I mean, is it really that worth it? Like, because
the question I have here is, are they going to be using the same 4K restoration? Because this release is what, 3 years old?
Yeah.
Something around there. So they
So
already
are
has
they
a
just
brand new restoration.
mastering it in 4K? And
Question
it's
I
just-
have is, do they have the rights to this restoration, or are they going to be doing their own or getting
Yeah.
one from somewhere else? Because you never know with these licensing things. I'll say this though, the way they can kind of get around this is because Arrow has, I'm assuming still has the Blu-ray rights here. It's because they're scooping up the 4K rights. It's kind of like a loophole.
Yeah.
You know, it's like it's a loophole that they're exploiting to the extreme now. Now they're just like, hey, you brought it out on Blu-ray. Well, guess what? We're gonna bring it out in 4K because you don't have the 4K rights. Because at the time when they probably acquired the rights, nobody was thinking about classic like cataloged films in 4K. Because we're still trying to get a lot of classic catalog movies just on Blu-ray. We're still getting premieres for those.
Yeah.
So this is nuts.
whoever was responsible over at Kino for getting licensing rights in 4K, like they jumped on this shit quick.
Yeah, not only that, they're merciless. They're just merciless.
They are. I mean,
Vicious.
like, they're smart. I'll say
Yeah,
this for them.
that
They're
too.
smart.
I mean, but transitioning from that, we talked about this release before, but they've got it official now. Is Some Like It Hot. We have official artwork now. It's coming with the slipcover. It's coming out January 18th. So for those of you who don't have Some Like It Hot, you have an opportunity now to get it in 4K. And this is a 2-disc release, a 4K UHD disc, as well as a Blu-ray disc. And I don't know if we went over
Well, I mean,
The
when it initially
special
it was
features,
just
when
like it was just coming soon, so there was no
yeah,
details
I mean,
yet.
you kind of have to do your own little research here, but you are getting a nice extras package
It looks like it.
on both discs here.
Yeah.
So a little bit on one, a little bit on the other. That is the one big thing when it comes to. We've said this a million times. If someone's putting out the same movie here, same movie there, you gotta compare and contrast the extras and see which one you want, or if you just want them all, buy them all.
Yeah,
They
just
would
do
do
what
whatever
we
you
do.
want.
Do what I do. Buy them all.
Yeah.
No.
I mean, I do have the original Fox release
Yeah.
of Some Like It Hot. I do have the Criterion release, and there are differences in extra features on there.
Yep.
The Criterion release, of course, has the better transfer and, has certain exclusive extras. But this release here is probably going to have extras that Criterion release doesn't have. And it's going to have the better
and
picture
it definitely
quality.
it has a new audio commentary, so that's definitely one that's new. It's
Yes,
different.
I think that's the only thing that's new.
But I said, we talked about and of course, Kino's doing their slip covers, and
Yes.
it does have a different artwork that looks more like, I guess, like the production, like the poster, maybe a
Yeah,
poster that they did.
That's what it looks more poster artish to me as opposed to, the other one before, the other two that we've kind of see, which doesn't quite look like that.
Yeah, the Criterion's more of a still from the movie.
Which is kind of, not great.
It's not great, but it's not terrible.
I know the original one I think was like a poster release or something like that.
Yeah.
So there's plenty of Some Like It Hot to go around, I guess.
Yeah.
I guess everyone likes it hot because
Apparently.
that's what we're getting. That's what we're getting. It's an all-time classic movie, so I'm not even begrudging it. But I'm just like, these studios are really starting to gouge us now in terms of the different releases.
Yeah, it kind of makes me feel like I wished 4K would have never came around.
Well, yeah, I know you've always had a thing for new formats, and like, do we really need to have this new format? I know you were never a big fan of 3D. You said that here on the show many times.
I mean, 3D
3D was more of a
different.
fad than a format.
Yeah,
for the most
3D is
part.
different than we're talking about like our perception of how we see the movie, and not in a sense of like dimensions, and not the
not
resolution.
quality. Yeah.
But I mean, I'm not against the idea of 4K. I just feel like I think we're getting to the point where our eyes can only see so much of a difference now. Blu-ray has gotten, I think, optimal, and now 4K is just certain movies really maybe deserve a 4K, but maybe you could have just done that with a Blu-ray too. It's like, I don't know. It's a whole other.
Yeah, that's a whole other discussion for a different time, I guess. But moving on from Kino, because that's all they've kind of shelled out recently. Although I forgot to bring this up, and I forgot to mention to you actually, Kino is doing, not from Kino Lorber Studio Classic, but from their Kino Classics line, which is something we don't see very often. Is they're doing a release of an Ernst Lubitsch film that is only from their Kino Classic line. Did you see that, Stephen? 1924 Ernst Lubitsch film. I'm going to look it up because we don't see stuff from that line anymore, and it's fascinating to me that we're getting it. And because I thought for some reason that Criterion had a good hold on a lot of Ernst Lubitsch stuff, but I guess they don't. So it's like I know that Kino has a lot of their early stuff from Ernst Lubitsch. So I'm gonna look it up. Because we talked about Broken Lullaby. The movie's called Three Women from 1924, and it's coming out January 18th, 2022. And this got announced a couple of days ago. This got announced November 3rd, so less than a week ago. And it's from their Kino Classics line. And their Kino Classics line, you'll probably notice, are the ones with the white cases. They release Stanley Kubrick's Fear and Desire. They released F.W. Murnau's Nosferatu, stuff like that. And I think, did they release Blue Angel? Maybe. Sternberg's Blue Angel, but that wasn't a white case. That was a blue case, ironically. So it's getting a 4K restoration by the George Eastman Museum, and then a new audio commentary by film historian Anthony Slide. So that's something to look out for. One, because I'm always looking for more silent films, and two, it's Ernst Lubitsch, so I want to get it.
Gotta get it.
Gotta get
Gotta
it.
catch
I
them
just
all.
want to slide. I just want to slide that in there right
Gotta
before
catch
we
them all.
transitioned.
Pokemon.
Pokemon. That franchise will never die.
No.
It's still going strong.
Yeah. All right. Moving on. I guess probably where you thought I was going to start, which I kind of forgot about it. So Shout Select snuck in another release that we missed last episode.
Yeah,
and that is Liar Liar, the Jim Carrey film.
The Jim Carrey film, which has seen its Blu-ray release a couple of times already. I think it got one from like Universal maybe, and then it got a re-release as well.
I know
in like
it was.
a cheaper form.
I think I own it right now in like a multi-pack of Jim Carrey movies, like with the mask.
This thing has gotten, let's see, it got one release in 2013, which is its first release, which is when Universal was doing its best of the decade, like releases, like best of the 80s, best of the 90s. It was of course best of the 90s, I guess, and then it got a re-release in 2016 with a terrible cover of just Jim Carrey looking straight at you, straight into your soul, and then it got another re-release in 2018. Through Universal once again, and these were all the same exact disc. There's no difference.
Yeah, it makes no sense.
None whatsoever. It's just one of those where, certain movies, we've said this a million times, especially mainstream movies, popular movies, which of course this was, came out in 1997, right in the midst of, Jim Carrey's prime comedy years.
Oh, yeah.
And those movies get re-released all of the time. But now this is a 25th anniversary edition. Now, this could mean one of two things. It could be the same exact transfer that we've already been getting over the last decade, or it could be a new one. We don't really know because there's no real details on it.
But I like the movie.
Yeah. I can tell you this. It's getting those old releases, I think, were VC1 encodes, and this is getting a new MPEG-4 encode, so at least the encoding is going to be better, which leads me to believe it's going to at least look better. But I'm hoping for something in the way of special features. There's just nothing here. And that's typical Shout Factory. They announce stuff and then we get the deets later on.
Yeah.
That seems to be the way they roll. And their Shout Select line has put out some pretty good stuff over the years. And they're up there in terms of numbers. What are they, up way over 100 now, I think, when it comes to releases?
Yeah, it's slow, but it's pretty steady. They're pretty steady.
Yeah.
I mean, it's they maybe put out like 20 releases a year, maybe.
From their Shout Select line?
From Shout Select, maybe.
And and it's, I know it's all different varieties.
Yeah, I keep bringing it up, but Little Big League.
Yes, Little Big League.
But then there's also the Sylvester Stallone movie Nighthawk.
Yeah, and then they'll put out like the Blue Dahlia and This Gun for Hire and all this kind of stuff. So they really have no threshold.
Yeah,
I know their one of their early releases was Midnight Run. And that's a great Blu-ray release, is Midnight Run, of a great movie. So I'm very happy with that. And of course, they released Get Shorty, got a nice Blu-ray release a few years ago. Glengarry Glen Ross is another nice Blu-ray release through that line. And some of them come with slipcovers and some of them don't. At least if I remember correctly.
Yeah, depends. But
depending, if you're a slipcover enthusiast, I guess that's nice to know. But that snuck in last week.
Yeah, and I'll have to say to end on Liar Liar, the pen is blue, the goddamn pen is blue. Yeah, and that's it.
Yeah, great physical comedy from Jim Carrey. In that movie.
Yeah, the scene where he's like beating himself up in the bathroom. God,
you know how many times I inadvertently quote that movie, Steven?
Dude, the comedy, the joke reel at the end is hilarious too.
Oh yeah,
where he like is in the courtroom and he like balls up that piece of paper and he's like, a goose.
Yeah. and he flicks it so
and he
it
flicks
flies.
it off, yeah.
When he comes back in after beating himself up in the bathroom and he's just like he's like, he's a deranged man, Your Honor. A madman. A madman.
A deranged man at the end of his rope.
At the end of his pitiful rope. Big teeth, kind of gangly.
Yeah, it's a classic kind of like, Jim Carrey vehicle where he gets to kind of do whatever he wants.
Oh yeah, and it was in that corridor where he was just on a different level back in the mid to late 90s.
I feel like they kind of remade that movie when they did what's the other one he did?
Yes Man.
Yes Man, It's
where
like
he's
Yes
gotta
Man's
say yes to
kind of the
everything.
same movie, where
Yeah.
he's like he has a role and he has to stick to it.
Yeah, he's
Like
always got to say yes to everything because he was
yeah,
always like kind of a downer and all that stuff. I remember Zoe Deschanel was his love interest in that movie.
yeah,
Um,
way too young.
yeah, it was like a 30-year difference. It was
Yeah,
weird
it's
and
kind
odd.
of kind of crazy.
Yeah, so yeah, well, I remember Liar Liar star of course Jim Carrey, Maura Tierney, who's an actress I've always liked.
Yeah.
I remember Jennifer Tilly was in that movie. I think that was the first time I ever
Oh,
saw
what's his
Jennifer
name?
Tilly.
Who plays the stepfather?
Carrie Elways.
Oh yes.
Where he's just like he's like
Here's
a
the
nice
claw.
guy.
The claw's gonna get you. Here's
He's just
the
so
claw.
boring. He's so boring. It was a nice role, like where he's not a bad
Oh yeah, he's not
boyfriend
it's
of
not
an
typical
ex-wife.
asshole.
Yeah, like an asshole boyfriend of an ex. It's kind of like in Mrs. Doubtfire, Pierce Brosnan's character wasn't
Yeah.
an asshole.
I mean, maybe a little bit arrogant, but not an asshole.
So he was also like super super rich and whatnot. But
yeah.
but I remember watching this movie incessantly because when I was younger, this was a movie they would play on basic cable over and over again, TNT, TBS, whatever, and they would just play it incessantly. Of course, they would. It'd be the edited for TV version, so they'd have to cut stuff out.
Dude, don't get me started on that shit.
Yeah.
Like specifically Ace Ventura. We've talked about this. They cut
that one.
They cut the dolphin scene out. where
I
he's
don't
the
know.
dolphin
I still to
trainer.
this day don't know why they cut that for TV, for commercials, or for the DVD. I know why they cut some stuff in Liar Liar for content wise. There's a part in the movie where they're playing an audio of like two people having sex on a cassette tape. Of course, they cut that for TV. And they cut some language and stuff. But that dolphin scene in Liar and
Oh,
Ace
God,
Ventura
it's the
made no sense.
best.
It makes no sense to me. To
But,
this day, you still can't find that
yeah.
cut of that movie
But
on DVD or Blu-ray.
Speaking of Carol, was this how you say it?
Carrie Elways,
Yeah, Carrie Elways. He's got a release in our next line of movies we're going to talk about.
does he?
Umbrella.
Ooh, he does. Yes. So our friends, I guess
They're
everyone
all
here's
our
our friends.
friends.
They're all our friends.
Yeah.
Yeah, Umbrella Entertainment from Australia, whom we've talked about several times before. It's like we go back and forth. We go to Via Vision / Imprint, and we go back to Umbrella because they're both like putting out stuff here, putting out stuff there, back and forth. But Umbrella had a large slate of releases that came out.
They always
so
do.
yeah. So do you want to just list them all out, and then we'll
Yeah,
kind of
I got
pick
you
out
here.
which ones that look good to us?
Well, so typically these are mostly Australian films. I think we might have a couple random outliers here. I think one of them's a Hong Kong film. But from the top we got Shame. We have a film called The Man from Hong Kong.
Mm-hmm.
Then we have the movie Sex and Zen, which is the Hong Kong film I think I was trying to bring up. Apex, which is a recent film from 2021 that probably nobody ever saw.
Oh no, and it's a straight to video, or straight to streaming Bruce Willis vehicle, so
Yes.
it's top quality.
Top quality, top shelf. The Devil's Playground. You also have Never Look Away. Buena Vista Social Club, which is one I think has already been a Criterion release.
Yes.
And then we have the Frank Hubert Dune collection, which
Yeah.
I don't know.
Well, those were actually TV miniseries, so they
okay.
kind of don't
I was
count
going to
for
say I
us.
don't think we need to talk about that.
No.
And what I was alluding to earlier, Robin Hood Men in Tights
Yes.
from Mel Brooks, and we have Lost in Translation from Sofia Coppola, and of course the big man Martin Scorsese's Gangs of New York, and then we have a double pack of Stir Crazy and Hanky Panky, which are
Yes.
two Gene Wilder vehicles, I think.
Yeah, the first film, Stir Crazy, stars Gene Wilder and Richard Pryor. They're one of their comedic team-ups. And the second film is just Gene Wilder. Both films are actually directed by the legendary Sidney Poitier,
Wow,
interestingly enough. Yeah, I looked that up.
that's cool.
And it's pretty cool. Steven, anything on this list that looks interesting to you? Because I have my thoughts. I just want to get
Well,
yours
I can say
first.
this: I've obviously seen some of the big hitters. Gangs of New York, okay, it's to me it's middle of the road Scorsese.
Okay,
I think it's
okay.
got some great performances, some good set direction, but not my favorite of his movies. Lost in Translation's probably Sofia Coppola's best. arguably. I mean, you might want to say something like, Maria Antoinette or something.
I say virgin suicides.
You think virgin suicides?
That's just my go-to, but I wouldn't argue if someone said Lost in Translation.
Robin Hood Men in Tights is hilarious. It's a good one.
Still holds up.
Still holds up. I haven't seen the Buena Vista Social Club. Honestly, I haven't seen. I wanted to watch Shame. Shame looked like that was very interesting. It's an Australian film where a woman, car breaks down. She's being helped by this man, and apparently his daughter has been sexually assaulted, or something like that. If I'm remembering correctly,
right?
You watched that one, didn't you?
Yes, I did.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I guess that's a good transition to what I want to say. Yeah, Shame was actually the biggest surprise of the movies on here that I did see, because I was expecting something a little different. I was expecting something a little more 80s exploitative, dealing with kind of, this sexual realm of sexual assault and rape and things like that. And what I ended up getting was actually a movie that's a really incredible social commentary on sexual assault, misogyny, rape, all this kind of stuff. And it ended up being a really great film. Not great, but really good, solid film.
Yeah.
A little over the top in terms of its depiction of people being super grossly misogynistic, like they're really going over the top to sell it. But it is something that could be taken straight from today's headlines that we see all the time. Basically the premise of this movie, like Steven said, is this woman who she kind of rolls into town on her motorcycle, and her motorcycle breaks down, and she gets stuck here. And while she's fixing her bike, things happen, and she kind of gets caught up in what's going on in the town. Is where the young men in the town are basically pieces of shit. They're assholes. Think like rich, wealthy, frat boy, preppy pieces of shit people who think they can do whatever they want because they have a certain social status.
So they stroll through the town that Karate Kid takes place in.
Kind of. If those people were less bullies in high school and more like, sexual assaulting
adult
rapists in college aged, or, actually probably late teenage age. So yeah, maybe the same age bracket.
Roughly.
Either way, it just so happens that she is a lawyer. So she's trying to convince these young women to, report these cases, take a stand against this, and the whole town is against her and against these victims and stuff like that. And it's something you see all the time, and the town's trying to pressure them to, not make this a big deal. And they're like, okay, what can we do to make this go away? All this kind of shady shit that we see happen in other films and of course real life as well. And it ended up being a really solid film. So I'm really glad this is getting a release, and I'm glad we're getting it hopefully in much better quality than I saw it in, because I think I saw maybe a DVD version of this that was on it was on Canopy actually, where I saw it streaming, and I think it was streaming on a couple of other places, but Canopy is where I saw it. And it looks like we're getting a good extras package here. There's a new interview with the director, with the co-writer, with both co-writers, and the actress who plays the young victim in the film as well. And a producer too. And there's another article commentary with the director and the actress and a co-writer again. And there's a bunch of other stuff in here too. I really dug this movie. It was actually one of the last ones I watched. So I can highly recommend this release. If there's one here that I think people would dig, I think it would be that one. I did also see The Man from Hong Kong.
Yeah. I was going to just say...
Fascinating film.
Yeah. Well, the one fascinating thing about it is initially it was supposed to be starring Bruce Lee. And of course, he unfortunately passed away a couple years before this movie came out.
Once again, I think Sammo Hung has had his hands in this, because I think he did a lot of the fight choreography.
Oh, okay.
And I think he has a cameo at the very beginning of this movie, just to give you a hint about how over the top this movie is. The opening, scene of this movie, there's a fight on top of a cliff, a mountain or something.
Sounds amazing.
It's really crazy. But what happens is this detective comes from Hong Kong to Australia, and he basically, has a battle or gets in it with the local, bad guy drug kingpin dude
is this-
played by George Lazenby.
Is this Rush Hour but Australia?
Feels very similar. Feels very similar. The comedy's definitely there. And what happens is this guy who he's a detective, Fang Sing Lang, played by Jimmy Wang Yu, and he just kind of just doesn't give a shit about like the rules or anything like that. Like he's beating up like members of this dude's entourage or bodyguards or whatever, just trying to get to him and stuff. And then George Lazenby is like practicing kung fu, and they have a big fight at the end, and it's over the top action. It's fun as hell.
Yeah.
It's really fun as hell. And I think a lot of the people who did the stunt work in this film, I think later would work on Mad Max and stuff like that, and special effects. It's a fun exploitation film from that era, and it looks like it's getting some serious extra features as well. It's getting, and I think this also has a release someplace else. With different features as well. So don't quote me on that. So this is a movie that's already seen the light of day in some form on Blu-ray in the past. And I just kind of want to look that up, but I also don't want to have dead air time, so I'm just going to talk randomly. So it does have a release here from Twilight Time from a few years ago. Actually, you know what? It's getting a release from Twilight Time through Screen Archives, who have now taken over the Twilight Time label. So it is getting kind of 2 releases within the next little while here. So I guess it all depends on what you want in terms of special features. And I don't know any of the deets about that Twilight Time release, other than that it's probably going to be exclusive from Screen Archives. So it's probably going to be a little premium pricing, but, that's kind of the way it is.
Yeah.
So you're getting new interviews with stuntman, you're getting original soundtrack on the CD, you're getting commentary, extended interviews from Not Quite Hollywood, that documentary about exploitation, which they bring up all the time, because it ends up in all these extra features packages. I don't know what's going on.
I feel like they're really, really just doing it with using that documentary,
Yeah, and there's 2 things on here. It's called The Stuntmen, a 50-minute documentary by Brian Trenchard Smith, and then there's Kung Fu Killers from 1974, a 75-minute TV special featuring Grant Page and George Lazenby, directed by Brian Trenchard Smith. So that's a significant package in terms of just time when it comes to special features. Yeah, there's a lot going on here with this release. I think this is a bit of a cult hit too. I think that's why this is getting so much attention, and it really should. But the other films here that I would recommend to people, other than those 2, Robin Hood Men in Tights is an all-time classic. I think comedy-wise, it's probably the first Mel Brooks film I ever saw, if I'm being honest. That and maybe Spaceballs. Lost in Translation's great. Gangs of New York is great, but of course, if you have those releases here, you probably don't need them. And also, Lost in Translation probably could use a remastering of some kind, but I don't think it's getting one here. It's probably just a straight licensing grab, if I had to be honest. I did see Stir Crazy. Richard Pryor and Gene Wilder have great on-screen comedic chemistry together. Like, it's kind of magic to watch. It really is. And that whole film is just so wild and crazy and over the top, and it's just so much fun that I think you really need to be big fans of Richard Pryor and Gene Wilder to appreciate it. Yeah. But yeah, that's about it for me when it comes to Umbrella.
I was going to say, one last thing I was going to bring up was The Devil's Playground.
Ooh, okay.
The director is Fred Shabissi.
Right.
He's a big deal, I think, in Australian cinema. He's also, I think, did some films in America that you might like. He did 1987's Roxanne with Steve Martin.
Steve Martin.
He did
the Cyrano de Bergerac adaptation. Yeah.
6 Degrees Separation, The Eye of the Storm, Empire Falls. Like, he's done some well-known movies.
Yeah, that's interesting.
And this is his first film. So if this is a director you're into, this is his first film, and it's about it's a period drama detailing a
By the
young
way,
boy's coming of age in a strict Catholic seminary in the 1950s Australia. So maybe this has a personal
Yeah.
journey of his own, maybe?
could very well be.
Yeah.
I do love that we're getting so much, or at least you and I specifically at this point are getting so much exposure to Australian cinema
Yes.
because we don't get a lot of this here, or we don't get a lot of them talked about here. In terms of our film education
Yeah.
as film fans, we really don't hear a lot about Australian film.
Yeah, I
I
was
mean,
gonna
we
say-
hear a lot about the big hitters like Peter Weir and stuff like that, and of course Mad Max and the stuff
Yeah.
that makes it over here into our zeitgeist. But none of this kind of more underground stuff, I
Yeah,
guess. Maybe not underground,
I think
but
lately over the last year or so, I think you've been, especially with other labels like 88 Films, like the surge of like Hong Kong, films from there. And of course, like you just said, Australian cinema from like Umbrella and Imprint somewhat is really pushing some of this stuff that I've never even heard of until
Yeah.
now.
And it's
so.
good stuff too. Like
Yeah.
it's really, really good stuff. But before we exit out of Umbrella territory, I have to bring this up. Speaking of directors, can't believe I almost passed this over without talking about it. Buena Vista Social Club is directed by Wim Wenders, who of
Yes.
course I think is more closely related to certain films as Wings of Desire, Paris, Texas, his Road trilogy, Pina, which is a film he did a few years ago. He's done documentaries, and this, of course, is a documentary. This does have a Blu-ray release through Criterion with loads of special features, which I don't think make the transition here. But this is a fascinating film. This is a film that came out in 1999, and it's about kind of these forgotten about, unsung, unknown Cuban musicians and singers and stuff like that, and it really gives you a look into the world of Cuban music and the world of these people, and just kind of goes into their lives and what music has impacted their lives and all that kind of stuff, and you get to see a lot of great music being performed, and you get to listen to it, and it's a really good kind of organic documentary. Like he's like on the streets of Havana in like 1998, just like driving around, and you just see a world in which we don't get a lot of look into, especially nowadays. And there's one point in the film where a group of musicians go and play in Carnegie Hall in New York. So you see the contrast of like New York City and like Havana and Cuba, and it's like two different world. It's like you've gone into completely diametric dimensions of worlds and whatnot, and then you realize that these two places aren't that far away from each other. Cuba's like, I don't know, 4 or 5 hour plane ride from New York or whatever, but it's a completely different world, and they're just walking with the streets of New York, and they're just marveling at like this is incredible. This has got to be heaven on earth. This is insane, and you watch this and you just. It humbles you, especially if you live in metropolitans and you live in better countries and better areas and, more stable and more things like that. Like they come from neighborhoods that don't have electricity regularly. You know what I mean? Yeah. So it's really a fascinating look at the culture and the people in it, but it's all through the prism of Latin American Cuban music. Really great documentary. There's a great 26-minute interview with Wim Wenders, probably on the Criterion, that goes into like how he shot everything, and really fascinating stuff. Really great stuff.
I love Wim Wenders. We talked about him before when we talked about like Wings. Sorry, tickle in my throat.
That's okay.
Wings of Desire, and he's got some other documentaries that I need to check out too. Pena. The dancing one?
Yeah, the dancing one, which was coincidentally in 3D.
Yeah.
I think it may be the only 3D release that Criterion's ever done. Maybe?
Yeah.
I don't know.
But
I'd have to look it up.
Speaking of Wim Wenders, apparently one of the films in our next slate of films was heavily... people seem to say it was very inspirational to one of the movies that we really loved.
What a transition. Steven,
I know. I'm
too
on
good
the
at this.
transition game tonight.
Damn. Damn, but Steven, you said you were tired? No.
I am tired, but
you
somehow
are,
I'm connecting
on
dots.
Yeah, you are on it because that's a perfect transition.
Yes, because now we're getting into our slate of partner label releases from Vinegar Syndrome. And we have, I think, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 releases. And the first one we're going to talk about is what I'm alluding to, which is a film called Radio On, which is from the popular sub-label Fun City Editions, which has been putting out great stuff. And this film apparently, and we both have seen this, and I haven't seen the Road Trilogy, which is specifically what people are comparing this to, of Wim Wenders movies. But yeah, I mean, this is Radio On, a fantastic film, British film. It's not easy to describe other than that there's a man that hears that his brother has died, and so you kind of follow him on his trip to go investigate, and he meets different types of people along the way. And also you hear a lot of great music, and you just got to kind of experience this one.
Yeah, it's a road trip movie, but it's less of a road trip movie where things happen, more like a film where you just experience life. You know what I mean? Like it's a mood piece. It feels very similar to a Jim Jarmusch film in the sense of how laid back it is. You know, it's not plot heavy or anything like that. It's an astonishing film.
Yeah, I was really surprised. Yeah,
one of the 100 greatest British films of all time, or at least it's been said as being one of the greatest 100 British films of all time. And I completely agree with that. But a lot of the music is from like David Bowie. Yeah. And at one point, Sting makes a cameo appearance. Yeah. But he's like, it's not like Sting, like he's not at a, at a concert or anything. He's like in a trailer park playing a guitar. You know what I mean? It's so uninteresting, for the lack of a better term. It is just there. And you're just following this guy on this road trip, and he's kind of just drifting. It's almost nihilistic in its approach to life, and there's no real point to any of it. You're just kind of living. It's an amazing work.
And photography, which I can't wait to see this film because I will be purchasing this.
Yes.
The photography is fantastic, and I can't wait to see it actually in crisp black and white.
Yeah, this is a black and white film. Came out in 1979, I think. Yes. Which, of course, black and white really at the time wasn't utilized at all very much. And it's such a low-budget, streamlined film. And here it's getting a brand new 4K restoration from the original 35mm camera negative. There's an audio commentary, 2 audio commentaries actually, with the director, one with the director as well, and then archival interviews with the director and producer. I would love to hear just the making of this movie and just everything behind it. Like you said, it is compared to the Road Trilogy by Wim Wenders.
I was going to say I think one of the reasons why they not only thematically maybe and just the vibe, but the cinematographer for Radio On is one of Wim Wenders' camera operators.
There you go,
Martin Schaefer. So
yes,
there you go.
Yeah, and this is boy. I'm going back and looking through. Yes, if I remember the Road Trilogy for Wim Wenders was Alice in the Cities, Wrong Move, and Kings of the Road, which he did in the mid-'70s. And that is available in a box set through Criterion if you want it. Great box set. I would highly recommend it. I've seen Alice in the Cities twice, actually. It's that good of a movie. And I haven't seen Kings of the Road. It's the only one I haven't seen of that set yet. But they're road trip movies, especially Wrong Move. It's just people traveling on the road, man. It's so existential, but so reserved existentialism. It's incredible. Wim Wenders is one of my all-time favorite directors. He's done so many different types of works, and his early work is fascinating to me. I just also love hearing him talk about his work and all of that stuff in his life. It's really, really great stuff. I would love to see more of his stuff get released, especially his more 90s stuff really doesn't get a lot of work. Kind of his 70s and 80s stuff get a lot of attention because Paris, Texas is amazing. Wings of Desire is amazing. The American Friend is a fantastic film. You have to hear the making of The American Friend and what Wim Wenders had to go through with Dennis Hopper coming off of Apocalypse Now is
Yeah.
is incredible. It's just like, wow, can't believe it. So Radio On is the first in that list of movies, and it's probably the highlight
And,
of all of these.
and it's the debut of the director Christopher Petit.
Yes, Petite. Yeah,
Yeah.
could be
so,
Petit for all we know. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah,
But,
but Fun
yeah.
City editions are really great releases.
Yeah.
Everyone I've ever heard get them loves them,
Yeah.
and apparently the guy who's, because this is a relatively brand new label that's
It's only
a
I
year,
think this is
maybe a
maybe
year
their
or two old?
eighth edition, maybe
yeah
eight
this is-
or nine.
and they've only started releasing stuff within the last year or two, like in that time frame. It's not been a lot of stuff, and it's a small company, as these all
these are all sub labels of Vinegar Syndrome. So, but
Switching
first
gears.
switching
Yeah.
over. Our next release that's coming from Altered Innocence.
Yes, this is an interesting set, Stephen.
Yeah,
Let's get into this.
L.A. plays itself the Fred Halston collection.
Right.
So yeah, I don't know anything about this. So what do you know about it?
Okay, I can tell you this. If you go onto Letterboxd right now, you can find the films in these collections, but all of the posters are all pixelated, blurred out, if you will, because I believe that these films are pornographic, adult entertainment films.
Gotcha.
Because LA Plays itself, is an adult entertainment film from the 1970s, and from what research I was doing on that, this person, Fred Halstead, was a proprietor, for lack of a better term, producer of these types of movies. And of course, just reading this kind of blurb they have here, he wasn't shy about putting stuff on screen that probably hadn't been put on screen before regarding the adult entertainment world. And all kinds of taboos and all this kind of stuff. There's sadomasochism in there. It says polymorphous perversity. That's a mouthful of a word. And these works sent a shockwave throughout the fledgling gay liberation movement and art establishment alike, leading to their eventual acquisition by the Museum of Modern Art. That's how, I guess, profound these works are. But despite their significant cultural importance, these films have long been available only in, they say neutered form. They might as well just say censored form, if at all. Altered Innocence are proud to present the first ever uncut disc release of these groundbreaking and fiercely controversial films, beautifully restored by Museum of Modern Art. And we got new special features as well. There's an audio commentary for each of these films. What is interesting is that it's tough to find what films are actually in here, but I think it's only 3 films, and they're all, I believe, under an hour long. Okay. We get LA Plays itself, Sex Garage is another one, and there's a 3rd film in it as well, I believe. I'll tell you this: trying to find these on Letterboxd were not easy. Trying to find, honestly, I couldn't find them to watch them. These movies are tough to find if you wanted to even watch them in general. Some people like, adult entertainment films, some people don't. It's a whole big cultural conversation for a different time, obviously. But yeah, and when I say the 3rd film, I'm looking up my Letterboxd now. Of course, I clicked on the 2 that I already talked about, and then the 3rd one is Sex Tool. That's what it's called. Obviously, none of these titles are hiding anything.
The sequel to Sex Garage is Sex Tool.
Yeah, it's they're not hiding anything in terms of what these movies are about. You got to look up the premise for some of these, because it's all they're all gay movie or just pornographic movie title.
Yeah.
In LA Plays Himself, the synopsis is: Fred Halstead plays himself in his notorious autobiographical portrait of Los Angeles. 2 men have a fleetingly idyllic meeting outside of town, while Halstead shows a young pickup the ropes within city limits. An older, more experienced person taking a young person in. I'm assuming things happen there. So it's not out of the realm of things people haven't heard of before.
Yeah, so it's what's the movie, the Anton Fuqua movie the Denzel and
Oh,
Ethan
Training Day?
So it's
Yeah.
Training Day, but a gay,
Yeah, and then
like sex
and
worker.
then like Sex Tool, the premise is, a supposedly straight stud is given a guided tour through the seamy S&M underbelly of Hollywood's glitzy socialite scene by his trans paramour. So that in and of itself is so full of stuff that was probably new to, audiences at the time, or at least, being so outward at the time. So if anything, this is groundbreaking work that's now seeing the light of day in a more accessible way for people who want to watch it, of course.
Yeah, I think I've noticed from this particular
Yes.
sublabel,
Alter
Alter
Innocence.
Innocence is specifically honing in on gay, LGBTQ films.
Right, that's their thing.
And,
Yeah.
and I think more specifically the underground stuff, like
Hmm.
other labels have put out stuff like Criterion. They've put out things like what's the one with Keanu Reeves and
Oh, My Own Private Idaho.
yeah, My Own Private Idaho. Like you see films from like the gay new wave kind of like different things like that.
Todd,
you know,
like Todd Haynes' work.
Todd Haynes.
They haven't really. I wish they would do more of that. To be honest, they put out Desert Hearts as another film in that genre. I
But
would
you
love to
don't
see
see a
them
lot
put
of
out
that
more stuff.
underground stuff. Like,
No, I mean they in terms of going the furthest they've gone underground in terms of putting out stuff would be John Waters' work.
yeah, John Waters.
And by this point, John Waters is, I think, such a fixture that his work is probably not as underground as it used to be because now you can get it on the Criterion Collection.
I think
know?
you can. And look, I haven't gone deep into this collection yet,
Right.
but if I'm remembering correctly, Andy Milligan, which was one of the sets from Severin, that big
Right.
Andy Milligan set, he himself I think was a gay man. So you
Right.
could say that I would assume a lot of them films have gay subtext. You could kind of say that they are gay exploitation.
Yeah, I mean,
type
there's
of
a
film,
lot of
underground films.
What's interesting is there's a lot of that work on the Criterion channel, like Chantal Ackerman's work and stuff like
Yeah.
that. A lot of these works don't ever see the light of day
Yeah.
when it comes to any type of mainstream distribution or talked about or being available to watch DVD, Blu-ray, VHS tapes. You know what I mean? I know we talk about Severin a lot. They're starting to release a lot of the video nasty stuff.
Oh,
A lot of the stuff that was kind of banned back in the day and whatnot. I'm assuming that this stuff was banned as well. You know what I mean? I assume
yeah,
at the
yeah.
time, this stuff was tough to see. I know John Waters, his work, Pink Flamingos, kind of the original Midnight Movie and whatnot, in the same vein as like Rocky Horror Picture Show, which of course is way more mainstream now than it's ever been because it's been playing in movie theaters for like 50 years or however
Yeah.
long. It's like, so you're getting a lot of these, like, I mean, it's kind of what this show's about, these boutique labels, small boutique labels putting out a lot of underground stuff that never really saw the light of day until now.
Yeah.
And if they had seen the light of day, not a lot of people know about it or talk about it. So it's really, really fascinating stuff. I'm learning so much stuff
Oh yeah.
about film history that kind of been swept under the rug.
Yeah, I mean, like even if you don't decide you're going to end up purchasing
course.
any of these,
Yeah.
you're now informed by them.
You at least
even if
you're
I decide
aware
I'm not
that they
going to get
exist.
this.
Yeah, you're aware they exist now.
Yeah.
But moving on from there, we have a release from the partner label Yellow Veil Pictures, and
Which
this is
is-
the movie Knocking.
Yeah, and it's one of their they had just announced this label. It's another one of their new
Oh.
sub labels is the
Okay.
Yellow Veil Pictures, along with the other one, which is coming in. We'll get to that one soon.
Ah, gotcha.
But yeah, Knocking is a 2021 film.
Brand new.
Brand new. It's a horror thriller about a woman who leaves a psychiatric ward after a nervous breakdown and only starts hearing mysterious knocking sounds in her apartment. I have not seen this one, but yeah, I don't know. I don't know. Have you heard anything about this one?
I've seen it actually.
Did you watch it? Okay.
I did watch it. It's. I thought it was really good.
Okay.
I think it was a Sundance film, maybe last year or this year, because it is relatively new, and it's a movie. Like as you said, that's the premise, and the whole time you're watching this movie, you're wondering: is the knocking real? Is it just in her head? Is she still processing the trauma that she was in the psychiatric hospital for? Is she, all of these questions kind of come up until the very end of the film, where you find the answers to those questions. And I thought it was really well acted. I thought the woman who played the main character, the actress Cecilia Milako, was fantastic in the film. I thought it was really, really good. And it gets a little trippy because as the film goes along, she gets deeper and deeper into like trying to figure out where this knocking's coming from. It's getting louder, and she's talking to all the neighbors in her apartment building, and they just think she's crazy and all this kind of stuff. It's really good. I dig it.
Okay. The next one we got here is a triple feature.
Ooh,
and it's
I
called
love the title.
Bloodorama Triple Frightmare.
Nice.
So I love the title of this first film. Help me, I'm possessed. Which is about is a freeform nightmare that takes place at a sanitarium in the desert. This surrealist gym includes a psychopathic hunchback, delirious monsters, and a killer early synthesizer score. Then we have Night of the Strangler, a southern fried whodunit with murder, racial tension, and a starring role from the Monkees, Mickey Dolenz. Probably saying that wrong. This sweat-soaked, sleazy feels like a cross between an American Giallo and a trashy airport paperback novel. So that's a great description. And then the last one here is one I don't know. I might have seen this one.
I think, according to Letterboxd, you did. So
that's what I thought, because it's in a set from, I want to say from Kino. They put out like some horror sets.
Look that up.
So Carnival of Blood, a ominous semi-cinema Vitor horror movie that was shot at Coney Island in New York. Carnival of Blood features an early role from Burt Young from Rocky, Uncle Polly, pop art gore that would make H.G. Lewis proud in a gloriously seedy atmosphere. These are getting 2K restorations from 35mm prints in existence, so that's good. And this is region free. I'm pretty sure the Kino, they have like a couple Kino sets. They're like, if I could get up, I could see what they are, but they're like has like Bloodthirsty in it. I'm blanking on the name of the sets, but
so am I. I'm trying to figure out.
Here, let me get up real quick. Wait.
Okay, yeah, you get up real quick, and I'll take a look at this.
All right, so it's American Horror Project, and it's Arrow.
That's what it's from.
Yeah,
because I keep seeing the Blu-ray release of it from Arrow, and it's
that's what I was thinking of. Yeah,
that's what it is. I didn't know it was in that the American Horror Project, because I know they released it individually in looks like 2016, 17, around there, in both the U.S. and the U.K., but they must have repackaged it into the American Horror Project Volume 1 set from what was that, 2020, 2016? There's two releases of that. But either way, so that's where it is. Okay, now that makes a lot of sense. That's why you've seen it.
Yeah, I've seen it. It's been a while, so I don't really remember it that well.
Okay. You did. I'll say this. You gave it a 2-star rating on Letterboxd, so I'm guessing you forgot all about it.
Yeah, it's probably not that great. My personal taste, but also my tastes have changed probably since the last time I watched that movie, so it's possible I could go back and think differently. But so we got a triple feature there. That's an interesting set.
I've seen Night of the Strangler, and it's not very good, but it is exactly what that description says. Yeah, it's Mickey Dolenz was in the Monkees.
Yeah,
and basically what happens is it's so over the top. Well, what happens is this woman goes back to like visit her brothers, I guess, and it turns out that she's now in a relationship with an African American man, and they're from the South. So one of her brothers is super racist, and what happens is she's got pregnant by this guy, and he ends up getting killed or assassinated. And then what ends up happening is that she gets killed. So it's like, who's doing all these murders? What's going on? And you're just trying to unravel this kind of giallo type murder in the way it's done. And it's not very good. It kind of meanders a lot. And the movie probably shouldn't be as long as it is. I don't even know what the runtime is. The runtime's 91 minutes, and it feels a little too long. It feels a little too long. I'll say this, though. There is a twist at the very end of this film that I was like, oh, that's actually pretty good. That's actually pretty good. Kind of gave it a little half-star extra bump on Letterboxd for me. But yeah, so that's a Bloodorama. Yeah, Triple Fright.
It
Triple Fright.
Seems like help me, I'm possessed. Or sorry,
is the odd man out?
Help me. ... I'm possessed.
Yeah, I don't know why they hesitated.
Maybe that's the good one in the set.
But next we're moving on to another partner label called oh boy, this is a tough word. Decanologue?
Yeah, that sounds. Yeah, yes, and that's the other new one. That's the other new label.
Oh, okay. And this is Keep an Eye Out. This is a French, like, comedy.
It's odd.
Satire film. It's like you take the comedy of like Armando Iannucci's like Veep or whatever the other comedy, like In the Loop, that movie, and it's kind of like over the top, wild, like, farce.
It's farcish, yeah.
And what happens is this guy's getting interrogated because he found a dead body outside of his apartment complex. So this guy's interrogating him, and he's just giving him, okay, tell me what happened. You did this, you did that. And he's just going, and this guy's just telling his story about what's going on. Something happens where, like, this comedic way someone dies, and so there's that tension that's there the whole time, but it's kind of funny as well. And
it's okay.
Yeah, I thought it was funny. It goes on for a little too long, and the ending of it is like, oh, that's I don't know what the hell's going on here, but I kind of enjoyed it.
It's an interesting film. It's got an interesting, like, pace to it.
It's a good script. Yeah, it's a good script, I think. It's a smart, whippy script. It may go on a little too long, like I said, and, some of the comedy may work for others, some may not. But I enjoyed watching it. I didn't like check out any time.
Yeah. Yeah. It's okay.
Yeah.
And we got the last one here.
Yeah.
The sorority slaughter.
I wonder what this is about.
Probably about Abraham Lincoln.
Oh, clearly.
When he was in his teen years and he was going to college.
Oh. Well, wasn't he chopping down?
He was killing.
Was he chopping down cherry
sisters,
trees,
right?
or was that George Washington? I don't remember.
Yeah.
Ironically,
could be anybody.
I probably should. But yeah, so I did not see this. I don't think Steven, you saw this anyways. An innocent college prank turns deadly when a bevy of beautiful sorority girls accidentally shoot and kill their voyeuristic, satanic, worshipping neighbor Hugo. Poor Hugo. That happens. But is he really dead? Who knows?
Probably not.
I'm assuming he comes. See what horrible fates await each member of the sorority when Hugo mysteriously returns from the grave seeking human sacrifice to sustain his eternal life. Sounds like a little bit like I Know What You Did Last Summer.
Yeah.
But in a sorority type setting. And I think this film's from 1994. I was gonna say I thought it was more contemporary, but it's not.
Well, I can say this: it also comes with Sorority Slaughter 2 from 1997.
Electric Boogaloo. Got it.
Yeah. So you get two movies in one here, guys.
Yes, and this is from Saturn Core Audio and Video. That's the sub-label.
Yeah.
This feels like, it's a 90s slasher. Coincidentally, I did mention I Know What You Did Last Summer, and that movie also came out in the 90s. And it didn't come out too far after. This is actually, was this pre-Scream in terms of, what's crazy? Yeah, it came out 3 years before I Know What You Did Last Summer. And it's a similar type premise.
They stole the the ideas from this movie?
Yeah,
is that what
that's what I'm saying. That's what I'm saying. I Know What You Did Last Summer stole the idea from.
Well, that movie's not that great either. So
I mean, granted, I'm pretty sure this movie took from previous movies because this premise happened That's happened in a lot of horror films where, someone comes back from the grave that you thought was dead, or maybe somebody didn't die that you thought died, now they want revenge. We've seen it before. We'll see it again. Happens all the time.
Yes.
But you do get, like Steven said, a little more bang for your buck when you do get two movies for the price of one. New transfer from, I've never heard this before, Steven, the original SVHS master tapes.
Wow.
Do you know what this means? This means that this movie was shot on videotape back in the 90s. That's how probably low budget
I came across
it
one
is.
of them. Yeah, I came across one of them cameras in a thrift store the other day, and I really wanted to buy it.
I should have. I
was like, I'm going to start doing all my videos on this videotape camera.
When I was little, my dad had, he had like the video, video camera
camcorder.
from the 80s. It was from pre-camcorder. This was the big, like, black.
Well, that's what I'm talking about.
Yeah, this took, I don't know if it was
Like a VHS. It took VHS tapes.
Either that or it was Super 8, and you had to get, like, not even Super 8. Was it? I don't know. It was videotape. It wasn't film, obviously, because Super 8's film. It was like, the tiny audio video cassettes.
Yeah.
I forgot what it was called, High 8 or something. I don't remember, but that's what this reminds me of. But SVHS master tapes. So yeah, back in the day, they had video cameras where you could put like a cassette tape into it, and it would record on it, and like that's the quality you would get. I've never quite seen a feature film then be transferred to a, Blu-ray format from it. So this in and of itself is a mystery to me.
It's one of them type of things where you can't really do much of a restoration.
That's the one thing with videotape. It sucks when it comes to having to transfer it or make it onto a digital format.
Yeah.
Doesn't transfer quite well because it's standard def, and you gotta, especially anything with special effects. That's a pain in the butt. Because that's why, this is a bit of a rant here, so stop me. Stop me here.
Stop.
Oh, damn it. I didn't start it.
Go ahead. As long as it's not
a
too
lot
long.
of the old, like animated TV shows, like things like Transformers and back in that stuff in the 80s, a lot of those things were mastered on like videotape and not film. So later on, when they were trying to put those things onto DVDs and whatnot, they were having quality issues. And because the restoration or the work they had to do to get that from like videotape to now a digital format was expensive, and a lot of those companies didn't want to do it. And that's why you don't see a lot of old animated shows get Blu-ray releases nowadays either.
Yeah.
It's very rare. Some shows were shot on film, but most of the 80s and 90s stuff was videotape because it was cheaper. It was cheaper to do it.
Yeah,
that's why.
Yeah, one of the most recent movies I've seen get a remaster from a VHS videotape, quality was Masturbating Gunman from Severin.
There you go.
Which our frequent guest Andrew Furtado worked on, and they did a good job. It's not easy. It's not easy to make something that was shot on videotape look good, look decent.
No,
even the audio. Of course, the audio too. Like the audio's only going to be so good, And
speaking of something, you just got something in the mail that is Vinegar Syndrome related. That is a hell of a production.
Look. That's a good segue. Not quite as good as my Vin Vendors one.
Oh, come on. I was trying to get there, Steven. Give me some credit.
But it was pretty good. I did get the New York Ninja Blu-ray. Unfortunately, I wasn't cool enough to be the first 10 to get the film 10. I thought I was quick enough. I got my order in the first minute, but that wasn't quick enough. So, within my order was placed at it dropped 12:01 p.m. and my order was placed 12:02 p.m.
Nice.
And I still didn't get it. So
nice.
But yes, I got the New York Ninja Blu-ray. This is once again a gorgeous set. I have not watched it yet, so I can't say anything about the film yet. Maybe by the next episode I'll have seen it and I can maybe talk about it a little bit. But it is a gorgeous set. It's very similar to the snapper case that we got from like the Six String Samurai, where it's
And
magnetically
Beastmaster.
sealed,
Yeah.
and it's got a nice thick, like the where the Blu-ray disc is, it's got a nice thick slip cover on it, and it's got great artwork inside and out. I'm
Nice.
very excited to pull this apart and really get into it.
Yeah.
So once
this is-
again, yeah.
Yeah, great. It looks like great production. I'm just seeing it, for the first time, and that's from their VS. Is it their VSP line? Their Vinegar Syndrome
so,
production
yes.
line,
Yeah.
which is kind of their new sub label, I guess. Why
They have
while we're
many
on-
different kind of like, not sub labels, but like,
Yeah. There's VSA, VSU, VSP now, and what is interesting about kind of what I was transitioning to, where I was getting at, is that New York Ninja was kind of an uncompleted film that's been sitting around for
yeah.
the last 40 years, or a little less than that, 30 something years.
Yeah.
But that's another one where they had to go back and put the film together, and they had to create audio for it and stuff like that, because it was incomplete, or the audio was lost. I forget what the story is, but I'm sure that the extra package on there tells you the deep story about putting that film together, which is
I'm
in and of
excited.
itself probably worth buying just to know about.
As I talked about in the Justin Beam episode, I kind of want to just go through the features first and kind of get
yeah.
myself built up for what I'm about to get into. But I don't know. We'll see.
Yeah,
see.
kind of gives you the context of how unique the movie is, because I know that they just screened it, I think, for the first time at a film festival. Was it
Yeah.
Fantastic Fest? Maybe
It
was
might
Fantastic
have
Fest.
been. It was like a couple weekends ago.
Yeah, it was a couple weekends ago, and people apparently really, really dug it. I know we saw the trailer. We talked about it when it was announced, and that's probably going to be a hot seller during their Black Friday sale.
Which is in a few weeks.
That and Flesh for Frankenstein.
Yeah.
Probably going to be another hot seller from them. I'm hoping we get more info on what's going to be on sale, because I know they usually restrict in terms of what's on sale and what's not. So hopefully we'll get more info on that, and maybe we can inform the people before Black Friday rolls around, because between Black Friday on the boutique sales and then mainstream stuff from your store, if your local stores, if you still go to them, Amazon stuff probably going to be on sale. It's going to be another holiday craziness when it comes to buying movies this year, probably.
Always
And
is.
we talked about the Criterion sale, which is going on all the way through it as well. So yeah, a lot of movies to talk about, a lot of movies to buy still. It never ends, Stephen. It never really does.
But
So
with that
is-
said, that's
Yeah,
it.
is that everything?
That's it. That's it for today.
Gotcha.
But another great episode of as usual. I always love
Hmm.
talking with Andrew. He always has something to rant about.
Right.
But let's put this one down until next weekend. Where can you be found, Andrew?
You can find me on Twitter at Capzilla06, as well as my YouTube channel for the moment in Capzilla Productions until we change it to Chasing Labels in short time. But yeah, you can find me on both of those places primarily.
And you can find me on Facebook, Stephen Billings, or you can find me at all the Chasing Labels pages, whether it be our Instagram at Chasing Labels Pod, or Twitter at Chasing Labels, or Letterboxd, where you can see what I'm watching at Chasing Labels. And you can find the audio for the podcast on Podbean, Apple Podcasts. Please go in there, rate and review. We want to hear from you. Spotify, all the big players. That's it for this episode. Thanks again. And hey, keep on watching them movies.
I know I will.